Securing an SBA loan is often seen as a green light for business success, but for some, it's a signal that turns red too soon. Beyond the handshake, there's a reality check we need to address. Join me as I uncover the hidden stories behind the SBA loan defaults. Hi friends, I'm Cody Koch. If you are new here, I am a 25-year veteran investor, trader, and business owner. On my channel, I naturally like to talk about investing, trading, and business concepts. SBA loans are typically used for a wide variety of reasons. They're often used for starting a new business, helping expand businesses, refinancing debt, building up of working capital, purchasing new equipment, purchasing real estate, business acquisitions, seasonal financing, improvements and renovations, so on and so forth. One thing that's particularly notable about SBA loans is the information is publicly available about their results and default rates, unlike many conventional loans that you can see in the marketplace. The information I'm going to reveal to you in this video comes from two sources. The first is NerdWallet, put out an article a number of years ago, and the other source comes from Heather Inderson over at Viso Capital. Research shows on average SBA loans have a 1 in 6 default rate. That means for every 6 SBA loans, 1 will go in default, which is approximately 17%. If the economy is in bad shape, such as for example in 2008, it goes to as much as 1 in 4, or around 25% of SBA loans go into default at some point during their term. However, as you dive deeper into the data, you begin to see a very interesting picture. What you will find is taking all SBA loans and comparing them to SBA loans used just for business acquisitions, you will see the default rates go from a 17 to 24% down to a 2 to 4% default rate for business acquisitions. So let's get into the data. SBA loan defaults based upon industry. Healthcare businesses such as dentists, doctors, veterinarians, pharmacies, funeral homes and funeral services, home healthcare services, nursing care facilities, and pest control all had default rates well less than 3% when the SBA loan was used to buy an established business in that industry. All of them were significantly lower compared to their all SBA loan default rate. Next, we have some more of the middle of the road type industries such as landscaping, auto maintenance, and car washes, which typically have default rates around 17%. When used to buy an established business, their default rates go down between 3.5% and 5%. On the higher end, the industries such as fitness centers, trucking and freight, millwork, janitorial services, all average somewhere between a 17 and a 30% default rate normally for most SBA loans. However, when the SBA loan is specifically used to buy businesses in those industries, the default rate is somewhere between 5 and 10%. Now, the worst industry by far were mortgage brokers, which historically produced about a 65% default rate, but when used to buy an established business in that industry, the SBA loan default rate was only 13.9%, a significant improvement. Next, we have default rates based upon age. Now, for the rest of the video, all the data points I'm going to show you are focused specifically on SBA loans used for business acquisitions. So the default rates increase naturally over time. So as the loan matures from 1 out to a maximum of 10 years, you see the default rates increase. Now, the reason I'm showing you only 1 to 4 years in this data point is because it was only in 2018 that the SBA began to break out its SBA business acquisition loans as separate data. So we only have about 4 years worth of data to go by. But as you can see, the loan as it ages, the default rates typically go up. Next, we have default rates based upon loan size. And as you can see from the data, as the size of the loan gets bigger, the default rates typically go down. From $100,000 to $350,000 SBA loan, the average default rate was around 4%, whereas loans over $2 million, the average default rate goes down to less than 2%. What was also interesting in the data is that fixed rate versus variable rate loans, there was not much of a change in the default rate. Next is we have interest rate changes. Now, this one isn't much of a surprise. Over the research data period, as interest rates got to the lower end of the range over that period, default rates were half of what they were when interest rates hit their 95th percentile. Now, this makes a lot of sense because as interest rates rise, especially for variable rate loans, it does significantly eat up some cash flow and can end up putting some businesses in some serious trouble. Next, we have the unemployment rate and how it affects default rates. It was found for every 1 percentage point growth or decline in the rate of unemployment, how the default rates in term loans and revolving loans changed. Although you can see here the changes are not dramatic. However, if unemployment ever got to 10, 20, or even 30%, as it has in the past in the United States at some point, this naturally would have a dramatic effect on the default rates of these loans. Next is the inflation rate. And based on the data, it actually found that the inflation rate did not have a significant effect on the overall default rate of these loans. As you can see over the data period, when inflation was at a 2.2% rate versus inflation at a 4.6% rate, you can tell the default rate did not change very much between these two periods. Finally, geography, which unfortunately I do have limited data on this one, but it was found the state of Montana overall had the lowest default rates compared to the state of Florida had by far the highest default rates of any of the states. Now, it's very evident from the data using an SBA loan to go out and buy an established business has a significantly better chance of success than using an SBA loan to go start a business or expand a pre-existing business. So in this video, I've talked about default rates of SBA loans used specifically to buy established businesses. However, in a previous video, I talked about the 4 main reasons business acquisitions fail in the first place. You can watch that video here. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more of my content, and I will see you in the next video.